So the average rent for a New York City apartment is more than $5,000, which is something many New Yorkers can't afford.
Yeah, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine talked about it when he stopped by to talk to us yesterday.
This is out of reach even of middle-class New Yorkers. So ultimately, we've got to build much more housing, much more affordable housing. That's how we get out of this crisis of homelessness.
Yeah, more affordable housing is the logical answer, but who decides what's affordable and what happens to those New Yorkers who are being priced out of their neighborhoods?
So joining us this morning is housing attorney Leah Goodridge. She serves as a tenant member on the Rent Guidelines Board and is also on the City Planning Commission. So good morning to you and thanks for being with us.
Hi, good morning.
So is there such a thing? I mean, seriously, I've lived in the city for 20 years. Is there such a thing as affordable housing in New York anymore?
I know there is. There actually is a big fight about what makes housing affordable because a lot of it is income restricted. So it depends on the percentile of income restrictions. But there is.
Hard to find.
Yeah, I just read about a guy who's renting a 95 square foot apartment with a shared bathroom for $1,100 in the East Village. So I guess you can find bargains if you look that hard. But you posted on a thread on Twitter yesterday using the term racialized displacement. Now, is that the same thing as saying gentrification?
You know, no. Because sometimes with gentrification, displacement doesn't always happen, but this particularly is about when people of color are disproportionately pushed out of a city. I do think, for example, that someone moving to Atlanta because they can't afford New York is in the same and should be thought of in the same category as someone being evicted, because at the end of the day, there's displacement happening. They're leaving because they cannot afford it.
I mean, we've seen a lot of neighborhoods completely transformed over the last decade. In fact, the recent census, the recent census shows that Bed-Stuy, which was a predominantly black neighborhood, gained more than 30,000 white residents and decreased in black residents. But the same thing happened with Latino residents in Bushwick, Williamsburg, and East New York. So where are all of these people going then?
There is a fairly new report by the Brookings Institute talking about the new migration, because there used to be the Great Migration from the south to the north, and now there's the reverse of that. So a lot of people are moving down south to Atlanta, to Charlotte, to Dallas, to Austin. And then a lot of folks are moving west. And some of the folks moving west from California are also moving south. So there's a lot of movement going on. And a lot of it is about affordable housing.
Now, we're looking at, a similar trend that's happening in the Bronx right now. That's where new luxury apartment buildings are lining the waterfront in Mott Haven. And these developers are supposed to set aside a certain number of affordable units for local residents. But does that actually happen, and who's actually keeping track of that?
Well, some of the housing comes before the City Planning Commission. And if they are what's called mandatory inclusionary housing, then it'll include anywhere from 25 to 30, around that percentage of income restricted housing. But, when we're talking about these developments that you're mentioning, some of them are 1,000 apartments or 2,000 apartments. And so when you only have 25% of that, it ends up not really being that much. In terms of accountability, that's been a consistent question.
Yeah. Would you call what we're seeing in Harlem a success story as far as displacement or lack of displacement?
I don't think so. I think that anytime, especially when longtime residents cannot access and benefit of the good things that are coming to a community, then I don't think that we can call it a success story. A lot of these folks, for example, you mentioned the Bronx.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and the 70s, there were so many Latinos who have done so much for the Bronx to build it up. There were so many fires in particular, and they weathered through that storm. And now that we have these luxury developments by the waterfront, will they be able to afford it?
So are they doing enough, though, to avoid it, like those neighborhoods in Harlem?
I think that what we can do that we're not doing when we're having the conversation is talk about affordability.
Yeah.
The conversation right now is saying that there is a housing shortage. And so if we just supply more housing, regardless of if it's affordable or not,
Yeah.
then the market will work itself out. And so then rents will become lower. I think that misses the mark.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the fight for affordable housing, of course, is an uphill battle. So where can low-income families go to find the resources and support that they need?
The first thing to know is that if you are facing eviction, there are legal organizations. And if you are income eligible, then you may be able to receive free legal help. So that's the first part. And there are a lot of community groups in different boroughs dealing with housing, some of them if you'd like to own a home. And so I would check with your local community groups and see about resources and your community boards as well. Just a quick note, the community boards vote on a lot of the housing proposals, and then they come before the City Planning Commission. So those community boards are very important to get involved in.
Yeah,
all right, good information there.
Yeah, and bottom line, I feel like the city has so much to do when it comes to
so
affordable
much,
housing.
So much to do.
Yeah.
All right, Leah Goodridge, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.